Cameroon, killing of Anglophone civilians by separatist fighters. From a struggle aimed at liberating a people to the struggle to the killing of the same people by their liberators. This is where the Anglophone crisis has arrived at 4 years since it began and 3 years since the separatists picked up arms against the Cameroon military in a struggle aimed at liberating southern Cameroons from a dictatorial rule as they describe. However, human rights abuses, kidnappings, torture and extortion are what the civilians now suffer in the hands of so-called separatist fighters. Anyone could become a target sooner or later, as it has been the case with at least 6 Anglophones who have now already been gruesomely murdered, that as blacklegs. A blackleg, according to separatists, is anyone against the struggle, anyone seen mingling with the military, or anyone working for the Cameroon government. This is the case with a lady in her middle age gruesomely butchered in the locality of Muyuka, southwest region of Cameroon. She was accused by her killers for secretly dealing with the military. Her punishment was death sentence. Same death sentence given to another young lady in her early 20s some days earlier, as she was murdered and abandoned in her pool of blood in Bamenda, northwest region. Thus, the uncertainty of who might be next. The killings have attracted widespread condemnation, which has been the case when military committed its own atrocities in a crisis that has killed more than 3,000 persons and displaced over 1 million from their homes in the northwest and southwest regions. While Human Rights Watch and other non-governmental organizations accuse both parties of human rights violations, the separatists have often accused the Cameroon government of infiltration. The town of Muyuka, after the recent incident, has been invaded by the Cameroon military, leading to indiscriminate arrest and torture. Many might end their lives in prison, just like journalist Wazizi, or die on their sickbeds in handcuffs like Tangem Thomas, who was never tried in court. With the uncertainty of when the crisis will come to an end, the Cameroon government continues to push through with its reconstruction agenda of the two regions, although popular opinion holds that there can be no reconstruction without a meaningful dialogue. Indiscriminate killings continue. While the military and separatists continue to play the blame game, the civilians are paying the huge price. Stay with us. This is a Pan-African debate. From a struggle aimed at liberating a people to the killing of the same people which they aim at liberating. In Cameroon, separatist fighters whom 4 years ago decided to pick up arms against the military in order to call for a separation of the Anglophone-speaking regions of Cameroon from the French-speaking regions of the country. 3 years now, have been transforming to something else, and in the last days in Cameroon, gruesome killings have been ongoing, with women being the main target. Gruesome killings, barbaric, and tortures have been going on the same civilians in the English-speaking regions, Northwest region and Southwest region of Cameroon. And what has provoked this issue, and what has caused condemnation, widespread condemnation, and what is bringing us today on the Pan-African debate are these viral videos and images of some young ladies and some men who have been brutally butchered and murdered, left lying cold in their own blood by the separatist fighters in these English-speaking regions of Cameroon. Today, during the Pan-African debate, we shall be discussing this in the company of our panelists, who shall analyze, give us their different points of views regarding this issue. How did things come to this level? How come separatist fighters whom were there for their people, for the civilians of the English-speaking regions of Cameroon, have now become the terrorists of these same people they wish to liberate? We talk about this, of course, with your participation in the course of the Pan-African debate this day, 15th August 2020, in the company of a human rights analyst and a human rights officer, Mr. Akem Nkwine. He's here in the studio with us, Mr. Akem Kelvin Nkwine. He is a member of the CHRDA of Barrister Nkongo Agbo. He's here, Mr. Nkwine. Thanks for honoring the invitation.
Thank you for having me on the program.
Thank you very much for being here in the studio. We equally have over there on a video call Mr. Capo Daniel. You are the Northwest Deputy Defense Chief of Ambazonia Defense Forces. Thanks for joining us on the Pan-African debate today.
Thank you for having me once again.
Thank you, sir. We equally have Mr. Professor Jean Bosco Tanye. He is the Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora Secretary in charge of the Americas. Mr. Jean Bosco, welcome to today's program.
Thanks for the invitation. The pleasure is mine.
The pleasure is always ours. Also having men of your caliber and having the opportunity to get your opinion and your analysis in what we are about to discuss today. Sooner also we shall have the opinion of a political analyst. Obviously, when he comes, we shall present him. Pan-African debate shall be running from now till 5 p.m. local time, 14 hours GMT. We are looking at the gruesome killings in Cameroon and these viral videos and images of a young lady being butchered and killed in the locality of Muyuka, southwest region of Cameroon, has caused widespread condemnation. Many people have condemned this act. Dr. or Barrister Agbon Kongo equally has spoken on behalf of the Center for Human Rights for Democracy in Africa. And here we have Mr. Akem Kelvin Nkwine. You are a human rights officer. How did you welcome these recent happenings in the southwest and northwest regions of Cameroon, with your view as a human rights officer?
Thank you, Rita, for the wonderful question. I think the incident that happened in the northwest and southwest region, the killing of the young lady in Bamenda and Comfort in Muyuka in the southwest region,
sure,
has been received by the human rights community with widespread condemnation. It is unacceptable, and it flies in the face of logic that we are trying to liberate a people, and at the same time we are the ones terrorizing these same people. So we have condemned these atrocities both from the side of the military and the side of the separatists, and in these two instances we have condemned the separatists because they are the ones who killed the two ladies, and we have said it is unacceptable, and we are calling on those involved, especially their leaders, to investigate thoroughly those who are involved and bring the perpetrators to justice. Because if we allow these things to continue happening, we will be given a chance to impunity, and the whole society will be plunged into chaos, and we cannot be able to control it.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Akem Kelvin Nkwine. I come to you, Professor Jean Bosco Tanya. You're joining us right away from Boston, the United States. Can we have your opinion regarding the transformation of the liberation struggle to into some oppression of the same civilians? Can we have your opinion about this?
Again, one more time, thanks for the invitation. And it is sad, it is very sad that in 2020, we are witnessing Cameroonian, we are witnessing a human being capable of taking a knife or a mattresses and slaughter another human being, no matter what the reason is. Even if that person kill your parents, I'm very sincere. I don't believe that the revenge should be to take knife or guns or whatsoever to slaughter the perpetrator or the other person. So for me, it is really sad. It is really appalling to see another human get that courage, get that, I don't know, that feeling of being capable of killing the other human. And something needs to be done. What can be done? I hope through this debate we will be able to discuss that, to call all the parties to be very careful, because it's not just the separatists. We have seen government military killing others, even dead, taking the gun, shoot them again. And I ask myself, what type of heart they have to be able to do such things? So that's what I think, and that is where I stand, and that's how I feel. And the pain seeing this happening in our country, on our continent, and letting the world see how barbaric we can be, it is very shameful. And I praise, because his name was called here, my good friend Akbo Bala, who is doing a great job of putting all these things together, because at the end of the day, all the perpetrators, whether from the separatist group or from the government, trust me, they will be called to answer about this. I hope so, and I pray for it. They will all answer. And as you said earlier, I live in Boston, and I can tell you, I know some of those people who put the money together to sit in the comfort of their houses to fund young kids who have nothing to do, who are on drugs, to be killing other people. I don't think that's a way of having his or her own country. I don't think so. And something must be done, and something will be done. Thank you.
For your intervention and introduction, I come to you, Mr. Capo Daniel. You are the Northwest Deputy Defense Chief of Ambazonia Defense Forces. Why are your forces, your fighters, killing the same population, civilians, whom they took up arms to protect?
Yes, I think before I answer your question, I would just want to address some things you said in the monologue, because it's very important that when we address issues like this, we get it correctly, so that the world and the population, your audience, are better informed. In your monologue, you make reference to certain terminology that are very common and are associated with this war. And some of the words you use are blacklegs, and the idea that everybody now feels in danger because everybody can be killed. And I want to make a correction about that. the terminology that is being used, blackleg, and I happen to be not just I've been an activist, so I've been engaged with most of those groups on the ground, and I currently serve the biggest military groups, the ADF, which is on the ground of Dr. Chuayaba, and the governing council, so I can speak directly, not just for my force, but it will speak for what is happening on the ground, on the field. We don't have everybody who works for the Cameroon government a blackleg. We don't call everybody a blackleg. The forces on the ground, when they say a blackleg, we have come out numerous occasions to specifically define this terminology. A blackleg is a spy, is somebody who is providing intelligence to the Cameroon military to identify fighters and their hideout. Such a person is usually considered a combatant in international law and is being treated as somebody who is directly associated with the war. People who are just working for the Cameroon government can definitely not be targeted by the forces on the ground. Most of the forces are well structured. They have commanders that are well known within the community, and these are people that have risen up to fight and defend their communities from a war that was declared by the President of the Republic of Cameroon. To the question you asked, what if my soldiers are going around killing our own people? This would defy the whole purpose of the war. Remember that these arms groups rose up to defend their community from a war that was declared upon them by Mr. Pobia. And the cases that are fresh in our mind right now is a gruesome killing that took place in Pining, where the Cameroon military executed a young boy in the forest who was running away from them when they were approaching a small village called Matanye in Pining. He was executed, his body riddled with bullets. The Cameroon military went into the forest, pulled him out, and desecrated his body. And for our population, this is an insult. It takes away the human dignity. It's unfortunate the case that happened in Moyoka, which is a case that have been identified. The soldier who was involved have identified himself and the group that he works under. And this type of things that we are seeing in this country is as a result of a war that was declared by us. This soldier do not represent the whole force of Ambazonia. He represents a splinter force that have been highly infiltrated, we have evidence that the Cameroon government have been sponsoring or funneling money to this group using people like Mbanda, who is of late, and some CPDM people are sponsoring these people to carry out such atrocious act as a means to tarnish the reputation of the Ambazonian war for independence. It's unfortunate that this war have been brought to us by Mr. Pobia. It is his military and his secret service that are behind the killing and the beheading. Our soldiers and the soldiers who are fighting to liberate their communities are protecting those same communities. You have seen even in Garbu, where the massacre took place, the Cameroon military have moved there, and the people have actually run towards the camps of the so-called separatist fighters. We call ourselves, we are liberators, fighting to liberate our country from these terrorism tactics that is being deployed by the Cameroon military.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Capo Daniel. I still with you still. You made some precisions which were quite clear, but now how well can you justify this claim of those killed to be blacklegs?
Union Defense Forces and all the forces that are partnering with us, which are quite more than I think our forces together with the forces that partner with us will constitute close to 80% of the force that are fighting, and they can account for at least 90% of the encounters, military confrontation with the Cameroon military on the ground. And I can tell you that our code of conduct is on our website. It is for the public to see. It is in line with the Geneva Convention, which the Liber Code, which is an instrument of the Geneva Convention, prescribes killing, death for spies. And anybody who provides intelligence to the Cameroon military will become an immediate danger to those boys fighting, will become an immediate danger to our communities. Because when this Cameroon military comes in, they don't discriminate between soldiers and the civilian. They burn entire villages. They have burned up close to over 300 villages right now. So the forces who are on the field, they do consider individuals who provide this intelligence to the Cameroon military as legitimate target for self-defense to protect themselves from Cameroon terrorism. we have a procedure in place. We do not torture. We do not carry out extrajudicial killing. We have a procedure that is in place under the circumstances of war. As you know, we don't have the supporting state institution like court and trials and things like that, but we have a procedure in place where if a person is suspected of being a spy or so-called blackleg, the person, the commander on the field will have to revert to 2 other commanders to present them with this evidence that this person is a spy. Even when that person is confirmed as a spy by those soldiers on the ground, the person can be executed if only such activity have actually led to the death of a soldier or a civilian. So rarely have we executed people who have been convicted or found guilty of spy, and we don't do it in an inhuman manner. We do follow our process and we do protect the sanctity of life. The image that you have seen on social media, we think is an action, is a covert action by the Cameroon military. The soldier have confessed. He's a soldier who belonged to the splinter group of the IG under Sako Ikome. This crime, we believe, is something that we have, the Dr. Chua, I ever have instructed our forces to take action against that particular soldier to make sure that this type of gruesome activity do not go on unpunished on our territory. We are doing everything under tremendous, difficult circumstances that have been brought to our territory by the Cameroon military. And I want to remind your audience that this barbarism that we are seeing in our territory is what we had witnessed in the history of the fight of the independence of the Cameroon Republic. We saw the French government using Cameroonians to behead the Bassa and the Bamilekes and put their heads on sticks in their marketplaces. Today, it is very, very sad that we are seeing the same French people of the Cameroon origin coming into our territory with their sons and daughters dressed up as bees and gendarmes, going to our territory, killing our people, and they are now engineering splinter group within our struggle to carry out such gruesome action in order to paint us black and give the impression to the international community that there are violence on both sides. No, our people are fighting a noble cause. They are protecting their fathers and their mothers from Cameroon terrorism. And we are taking every action in our disposal to make sure that we do not have this implanted agent to carry out such activity. This particular group, one of their commanders in Menchum, is called Prince Ngetem. He's an active member of the Cameroon military. We have audios of Mbandam confessing to have provided finances on behalf of the Cameroon government to this faction to fight against our people, and we condemn this atrocious act, and we call on the international community to send a fact-finding mission on the ground to investigate not just this action, but other actions that the Cameroon government have engaged in directly.
We will come back to you, Mr. Capo Daniel. We warmly welcome into the studio political analyst Fa Elvis. Mr. Fa Elvis, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sondo. Good afternoon, Rita Moto.
So,
good afternoon to the fellow panelists who are there. Greetings to the people of Gunuko village, of course, in Bengui Central Subdivision, where I come from. And of course, my heart bleeds, especially for the people in the Northwest region and the Southwest areas, where I am also a bona fide English-speaking person from that part of the country.
Yeah.
But then I think that from the present situations, we have to get the bull by the horn and get things straight as of now.
So, Mr. Fa Elvis, how did you actually welcome the killings of the recent killings of Anglophone women in these regions of the country?
Well, as somebody, as an investigating journalist who has been on the ground 4 years running in the embattled areas, whether it's in Mamfe, whether it's in the Umojok, whether it's in areas of Ndonga Mantu, I've been able to analyze the whole issue. And I realized that each time the United Nations General Assembly meeting is about to hold, these crimes multiply. And in the course of my investigation, I just realized that there is some propaganda. In war, one of the main characteristics is that propaganda takes precedence on both camps, both on the side of the actors who are involved in the conflict. And so some of us who do conflict resolution, it's a common phenomenon. If you go to the Kivu region, or you go to the Katanga regions in the DRC, you realize that even when Laurent Kunda was there, those propagandas were bound to take place. There were cases whereby the forces of the Democratic Republic of Congo will disguise as rebel factors, put on rebel dresses, commit acts in order to paint the rebels black. There are times equally that the rebels there in DRC would put on plain military uniform pertaining to the government of the Democratic Republic of Congo, and they could carry out some kind of crimes too, so that at the end too, so you see there's propaganda. And I think that in this present war, we are now at that situation where propaganda takes precedence now, and in the case sometimes you discover that us who are doing the investigation on the ground, sometimes it becomes very difficult to believe a story, because when you look at the video footage, you are bound to examine and cross-examine and cross-examine, because sometimes you realize that there are some things that are not clear. But now, to let you know the facts on the ground, the main issue here is that the government of the Yaoundé regime is also playing a smart one, just as the separatist fighters are playing. You will bear with me that when they go to a community, the first thing is they try to look for spies. If you come to my community in Bangui, most of the guys who arrive there, the military, their first intention is to go out with the girls another area. Why? Because it's not for love issue, as I can say. Yeah. It's not because they love the girls. It's because when they go out with these girls can easily tell them that no. And what happens now? Sometimes, if these girls have a problem with you, they can just go. Maybe you had some clashes in the quarter. Just know the military, that man is Amber. And when they give that information to military that this man is Amber, military does not need to ask. My worry here is the presence of the professional army. Professional army means the state, that is Yaoundé regime, has some institutions. We have courts, we have gendarmerie brigades, we have police stations, which means that in a case where a suspect is arrested, it's obvious that this competent court should be channeled. Now, it becomes a little bit different on the side of the separatists. Why do I say so? If you look at the issue in South Sudan, when the president himself and the vice president were at loggerheads, they had situations whereby they had prisoners of war, which means that even the vice president, those who were arrested, they were remanded in custody. Now, in their first meeting in DRC, when they were coming in place now to resolve the conflict, their first move was to have that stock of prisoners. In the Cameroon context, if Amber themselves do not have they don't have camps to keep military, for example, if they lay hands on military, the main issue is delete. If military lays hands on even a suspected Amber, whether once they feel that you are suspected Amber, the next thing is that they can take it from here. Before they get to 5-10 kilometers, you are fired and thrown somewhere. So you begin to see where the whole issue comes in. But I think that where we are now, we should be able to see, because the blame game is on. And my question is, how long do we continue to put blame game when the civilians become those who are caught in the crossfire? I have equally been a victim, only thanks to God, caught in the crossfire where I arrived on the Manfay Road on a day where there was exchange of gun battle. So it was by the grace of God, not because I was so intelligent, but I think that where we are, Rita, we talk about the killings carried out by separatist fighters. It's still another issue. The barbaric killing is what we must condemn. As I said, anybody born of a woman will not accept the kind of killings whereby somebody is butchered, body parts are decapitated. But then, we must be able to take ourselves back to history. Where did it all start? That is where my worry is. Because the killings are not accepted. But the main issue here is, where did it all start? I have reminded Cameroonians several times that if you go to Bello, you go to the story of Sam Sawyer and his brother, that is where the story of beheading started. I don't know why people are not telling the truth. Which means a demon was brought in by the military, who came in, went to Bello after there was an attack at a Janam checkpoint down Bingo. The guy was a Rasta man, and a Baba there in Bello was pinpointed as the one who sells marijuana, which he confessed that he sells marijuana, but he's not the one who's responsible for the attack of the gendarme station out there down and Bingo. We saw military took the video. It's not me who took it, and they made it viral. And what did the Minister of Defense in Cameroon responded in Yaoundé? He then ordered military not to be going to the field with their phones to film. That is that. We saw another video the other day where they were dragging a young man from the forest. You get the point. So what I'm saying is this: the atrocities in war are committed on both sides. My worry is when we take analysis on one side. We take analysis because before the decapitation of this lady in Moyoka, the issue of Florence Ayafo, which we all condemn, what prompted this spirit? Do Anglophones have the spirit of decapitation? Do Anglophones ever have the spirit of taking guns and shooting people? I don't think we have that culture. So, if the government had acted at a point in time when this conflict started, this monster spirit put in place by the regime for failing to take the bull by the horn, but putting in place what we call cosmetic solutions with the failed dialogue. I said on this platform that in conflict resolution, you don't go to solve a problem without the principal actors on the table. I've told you several times. But because they want to play smart, we are now 4 years running.
Yeah.
Would you imagine that when we're condemning these killings, if care is not taken, more are still going on? Now, I have told people that after this war, there are lots of documented evidence that we don't even know. That's why when the military tribunal, special tribunal will set up, you will see evidences and you will even weep than what we're seeing here. Because there are some of those videos that have not been brought to limelight. I told people if you go to Kwakwa, you go to Mbonge, there will be times that you want to go and carry out your farming. It just digging a hole, you will touch bone. You want to discover mass grave is found. These are characteristics of war that when a government refuses. What am I saying here? Responsibilities must be accorded. I have said several times, the time of speeches are over. When I hear American Embassy, we condemn blah, 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 that is bullshit. When I hear United Nations Secretary General, we condemn killings in Cameroon, it is a fat bullshit. How do you explain? There's a problem in your backyard. European Union sits in their parliament. They are commenting about it. American Senate sit over there. They are commenting about it. British Parliament, House of Commons, sit far. They are commenting about it. And 4 years running, a kangaroo system in Yaoundé. Parliament, National Assembly, or Senate cannot talk this, cannot pick this point as a main point. It means that they are accomplice. Because at this present period we are talking, the damage that has been caused and the damage that is still to be caused is an unpardonable sin caused by the regime, because when you fail to address the problem in time, you should take responsibility. Sure. Let me tell you something. A state like Yaoundé, if you say the people of the North and Southwest are your people, your responsibility is to protect them. Once you fail to protect civilians, it means that you have failed to take up your responsibility. Therefore, we think that I got the communication from the Minister of Communication condemning. Rita, how long shall we keep on getting these communicates? The governor of the Southwest held a meeting on the same killing in Moyoka. The meetings are good. Of what good are these hopeless, counterproductive meetings when we will still hear that someone has been arrested as blackleg and killed? Look at the old man 70 years in Mautu. The 3 of them who were killed there, when military arrived, they escaped. After some time, when they came back, thinking that everything was calm, none of the military was around and intercepted. The man at the age of 70, as we found in the video footage, was gasping for death and died few hours later. So at the end of it, my worry here is not to justify any killing. I keep on saying, because the killings are an abominable act that goes against the Geneva Convention and international law. But what I'm saying is that the government must take action that will prevent that, because we are fast going to Rwandan genocide. That is the period. And if the government had taken firm stand from the beginning of this crisis, the monster spirit we have now will never have been there. Today you hear bombs in Yaoundé, bombs here. It means that we are getting to the point whereby you and I, gallivanting in Douala and Yaoundé, we are no longer safe. So why do we think that we must keep giving speeches? I think that Yaoundé regime knows what to do. Get to the separatist fighters, get to the prisons, set these guys up, get to a common platform, respect international norms of conflict resolution, arrive at an average venue, accept the way even Capo Daniel can come without being afraid, where Yabacho will come, where Ayu Sissoko will come. If they choose Ghana, they choose Nigeria, accept and go there. But what with a third party? I will say here without whatever mouth, if anybody gets it one day and decides that Cameroon government can solve this crisis, it's a fat lie, because the indicators are clear. War is going on, you say disarmament. War is going on, you say reconstruction. War is going on, you say bilingualism. Whereas the main problem of this is the form of the state. War should not be a taboo on the table. I told a government official in Boya, when I was invited at the consultant meeting, I said, in as much as I'm here, I think that it would be good if you relay the information to Yaoundé. Leave the issue of taboo subject. When the separatists come and they say we want separation, convince them that not here, we think that separation is not the best thing. We think that if we get the federation for this reason or for this reason, that is the argument of force and not the force of argument. If you put these parameters in the place, I think that we'll be able to solve these problems without putting in place. Let me tell you something. If you go to South Sudan, when the president of South Sudan was calling the vice president to sit on table, he did not call him as a president. You had to come from your low seat. That is the principle of conflict resolution. If two people are in a conflict and you want to play the boss, you cannot play a referee and a player at the same time. How do you expect the security fighter to look at you? They will see it somehow biased. But in a case where you come down from your high horse and then you tell them, look, we are now brothers. Let's leave this issue of I'm a president or I'm a state. How do you come out? He will begin to see. But now, one thing is clear. There's a breach of trust between the separatist fighters and the government. Therefore, even if the government is bringing heaven now and Jesus, so long as the government is in front, the separatist fighter will not believe. That's why I said a third party, I repeat this thing, a third party. In Colombia, do you know that the war went on for 50 years? When the FARC rebels were called on, that's when the government of Colombia piped low, and they sat on tables after holding foreign meetings. You cannot stay in a conflict within the country, and you hold meeting only within the country and solve it.
Okay.
Once there's breach of trust, you both need to agree for a common venue, acceptable for all of you, so that you can air your mind, and there will be protocol agreements, so that Capo cannot even go to Ghana and is arrested. Or Yabacha will not go to South Africa before you know he's bonded and sent back. And you know, with international law, I get people agitating. Some say that they will bring Capo to Cameroon. They will bring aid to Cameroon. In the international, it does not function like that. Once you realize that in the law of in the law of expedition, once you realize that taking somebody back to the area where justice will not be meted, you will not. The country does not endorse that.
So they need to.
They might be judged where they are, but it will be difficult for them to be judged or sent to the Cameroon government to judge them. So what the Cameroon government needs to do, than playing the lobbying issue, sending firms to go and carry out counterproductive measures, the Cameroon government should understand that Thibaut Nagy said they tried in Vienna, did not go. What about guerrilla warfare? You don't know who is who. Today you see somebody dressed in military attire, you think it's a military. The next day somebody dresses in Ambazonia attire, you think it's Ambazonia. It is a very complex situation. I am talking as somebody who goes on the ground every day. And so the only thing we want to do is that responsibilities will be accorded. Okay. Cameroon government take a decision, because at the end of it, if separatist fighters are coming to the special military tribunal for trial, Cameroon government and officials will come to answer the act of not providing prompt solution that would have prevented the numerous persons that have been killed. Right. It is a fact, and the clock is ticking.
Thank you, Mr. Fa. Elvis, political analyst and journalist. For those of you just joining us, this is the Pan-African debate, and the gruesome killings in the English-speaking regions of Cameroon is the topic that has been placed on table with the analysis of our four panelists here in the studio. So before we continue with the next round of interventions, I'd like us to take a listen to a report compiled by Bid Beng Luis. He's been following the issue in Cameroon, and he brought up this analysis. Let's take a listen and we'll be back.
A viral video circulating on social media shows a lady in her middle age with hands tied to the back is later butchered to death and pulled to the middle of the road. The gruesome murder happened in Moyoka, a town in Cameroon's restive southwest region. She has been accused by her killers of being a blackleg. This term blackleg is now common in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon, where purported Ambazonian fighters have most often labeled their victims with before subjecting them to gruesome, inhuman treatment and later killing them. The separatist fighters who took up arms against the military in 2017 have often claimed their mission is to defend the Anglophone minority. However, the rate of kidnappings and killings of Anglophone civilians by supposed separatist fighters have left many wondering how this is related to liberating the people they claim to be protecting. The recent act of gruesome hacking of a lady has drawn widespread condemnations, although this is not the first nor might not be the last if the crisis is not resolved on time. Global anti-corruption consultant and activist Akere Mona writes on his Twitter handle, "I was unable to complete watching the most gruesome video, an incident which supposedly took place in Moyoka, southwest region of Cameroon. Hands tied behind her backs, a lady is hacked to death with a machete. Whatever the cause, this is most barbaric and inhumane, unacceptable," he says. Human rights lawyer, president of Fako Lawyers Association, Agbo Kongo tweets, "Killing our people in the name of liberating them is unfortunate. We cannot be killing the same people we claim we want to liberate from the yoke of dictatorship. May the souls of those killed rest in perfect peace." The killing of the lady in Moyoka comes just days after another young girl in her early 20s was also murdered in another video which circulated on social media. The girl is seen lying in her own pool of blood, and voices attributed to suspected Ambazonian fighters accuse her of being a blackleg. Several opinions now hold that killing of Anglophones by separatist fighters is clear proof to the international community that custody of the English Cameroonians can never be granted to Ambazonians. Although the Ambazonians on their part are also accusing the military of infiltration, it is clear The international community needs to step in now and put a stop to these crises in Cameroon's northwest and southwest regions, which has killed more than 3,000 and displaced more than 1 million more from their homes since 2017. The time to act is now before more innocent souls are being lost in the hands of people who no longer value human life, many who have taken the crisis to settle their personal disputes. While others are jubilating over the violation of human rights and killings, it is clear the International Criminal Court is preparing the files of perpetrators and certainly will step in soon.
Thank you, Ben Luis, for this analysis that gave us more insight and equally clarify things for those who just joined us on the program this afternoon. The numbers are going to be opened very soon to get the participation of our viewers equally. On our Facebook page, you can leave your comments in regards to the topic that is on board. With that, I come back to our panelist in the studio, Mr. Nkwine. Mr. Capo and the Ambazonian fighters are accusing the Cameroonian military of infiltration. But this blame game has been ongoing for a long time, and it is at the detriment of the innocent civilians who keep paying the huge price. As a human rights activist, how can the civilians be safe or protected?
Yes, we have seen that both parties in the conflict, that is the government and the non-state actors, which we commonly refer to as the separatist fighters, they are both committing human rights atrocities. The military is committing human rights atrocities, same as the separatist fighters. So our issue now is with the civilians, because the civilians have been caught in the middle of the fighting. We have the separatist fighters who go on civilian localities and implant explosives. These are areas where there is no military target. You don't even have a soldier. For instance, an incident happened in Bamenda in the northwest region at a locality known as Sisia Junction. This is an area where there is no military facility. This is just a civilian inhabited area. So the separatists go on these areas and implant explosives, and the result is that when they explode, they only affect by the civilians. So we are trying to see how we can make the separatists understand that the war, their target is not the civilians but the military. So in carrying out their attacks, they should launch them on the target, which is the opponent, not the civilians. We have had instances where, as he was earlier explaining, he said those they call black legs. There are those who are informing the military. There are those who are acting as spies.
Intelligence.
Yes, but we have had instances where teachers are kidnapped and killed. These are people who are just trying to find a livelihood. They are just trying to see how they can survive, because the crisis has affected everybody. And you kidnap a teacher and torture and sometimes kill just because he's doing his job. That is something which is unacceptable. That is an attack against the civilian population, and that is what we are condemning. Okay. We have had instances also where civilians are forced to pay, like extortion. Civilians are being extorted by the separatist fighters, and we are trying to see how we can put an end to these things by calling to the attention of the leaders abroad who may not even know what is happening on the ground, because there are issues happening where you lost a relative and you want to go and bury the person in the village, and on the road, the armor boys whom we refer to as they will demand for some sort of money which we don't know why they're collecting. In the recent report we published 2 days ago, there was a case where we actually investigated and documented, and a civilian paid a sum of 2 million francs to bury his father in Manfe in Manu Division. Yes. And that is what we call extortion of civilians. If you are fighting a war against the military or against the regime, your target should be the military. Attacking civilians does not give you any military advantage. So we are trying to see how we can call to the attention of the leaders to put a stop to this thing.
Okay.
We have accepted that both sides are committing crimes, but this particular incident against civilians is what is unacceptable.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Akem Nkwine Kelvin. We get to the call center. There is a caller online. Mr. Jean, you're calling from Abidjan. Thanks for joining us on the Pan-African debate. You're live on the program, Mr. Jean.
By thanking God for Afrique Media and for all the things you have been doing for Africa. The panelist on your right, I can see him, you know, the journalist, investigation journalist. I can see him having all, you know, showing all the power, all the energy, condemning the government of Cameroon. Yes, if you have something against the government of Cameroon, we can see that in everything you are saying. You can also take the same energy to condemn the separatists who are killing, who are kidnapping people, asking for money. They are doing very bad things. But you are not saying anything against them. It's like they are, you know, they are angels. But they are not angels. What they have to know is that Cameroon cannot be divided. If they came to understand that, they can come easily to the table and discuss of whatever they want. But they have to know that Cameroon is not to be divided. We cannot accept that. We cannot accept that. You have many countries. You took the example of Colombia. Colombia and Cameroon is not the same thing. The FARC people in Colombia, we did not want separation. They was fighting for their well-being, and when the government give them the chance, they have now a political party where they can defend their interests. And these separatists also can do that. I used to watch their television, their propaganda television. I used to watch it, and they are calling people to kill. They are calling people to kill. What are you saying about this? What I want to stop from there, and thank you people for giving me the opportunity to speak again about this Northwest and Southwest issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jean, for contributing on the program. Mr. Farovis, you have some 2 minutes to comment to that.
Yeah. You know that when you bring out analysis like that, people have the impression of misinterpreting you. I am sure that my brother in Ivory Coast did not get me very well. Because in one of my statements I said, no matter the reason, there is no justification for killing.
Sure.
This program can be replayed several times. I think after this program is on Facebook, let him replay my intervention. My worry and my stand here is that the acts are committed by both parties. That's where my problem is. And so that's why I said, how long shall we keep on giving the blame game? Because we started blaming from year 1, year 2. Separatist fighters have done this, government. But my worry is the civilians caught in the middle. That's why I think that my brother who's listening to me, please take time and replay again, because I am not supporting the separatists. I have said the killings are condemned. That's why I said in the statement. I said in the statement here that no man born of a woman, that's the statement I said. I'm sure people are listening to me. I said no man born of a woman can accept that kind of barbaric killing that went on. I don't know how the man wanted me, why my brother wanted me to say again. So in a nutshell, the main issue I was talking about, because as some of us talking here on platform, the next thing is we'll start getting, just as usual. Some people saying that man is an Brazilian journalist, that man is this and that. I am a political analyst. I am a member of a political party in Cameroon Renaissance Movement. I don't think the party has its own ideologies on the ground. But my worry here is that I talk here specifically as an investigative journalist. I have gone to the field. The things I tell you, are things that can be verified on the ground.
Sure.
I am caught in crossfire, and you know,
okay,
between Northwest and Southwest, the only journalists in Cameroon who crisscross these areas on regular basis for reports on the ground is not Biscuit. So if I'm talking, I talk as first-class evidence that, just like our human rights officer was just saying, you know, even extortion is on both sides. There are times I was in Boya the other day, people were arrested in Munya. I was almost among those who were asked to sit down. A policeman who identified me and said, no, you can go. The others were bundled over. People have paid money in Munya, paid money in Bolifamba before they are released. And so, extortion is on both sides. You get the point. Sure. So my worry is, when they are extorting, Ambas will extort, military will extort. When they are killing, military will kill, Amba is killing. My worry here is the civilian population caught in the middle. And I think that the government has the upper hand to call the shots and say enough is enough, and will be enough. Okay, thank you, Mr. Elvis. Let's quickly get the participation of Mr. Lawrence. Quickly, Mr. Lawrence, you are live on the program today. Good afternoon. All right, we lost Mr. Lawrence. I come to you, Mr. Capo Daniel, a human rights officer on the panel. Mr. Kemquine pointed out some issues. He pointed, okay, let's get Mr. Lawrence is back. Let's quickly get him, and I'll come back to you, Mr. Capo Daniel. Mr. Lawrence, you're live on the program. Hello. Hello?
Hello?
Yes, sir, you're live on the program. Let's hear your contribution.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, what I want to say, madam, you see, all this barbaric that is going here in Southern Cameroon being carried on by military. Because you see, madam, this military and their government, they are understand that they cannot fight the Amazonian warriors, fight the Southern Cameroon forces, because the defense forces are working together with the population. So these people are looking for all means to tarnish the image of these separate defense forces. So this barbaric killing is carried on by military. Military people are changing their uniform just like the Amber Boys to kill civilians. So this is what is going on. So we had some fight from government like Bambara and you name the rest. They are talking, they are condemning that, they are condemning this. We saw this old man die in their own day in hospital with chain on his hand. We don't have a Bambara talking. So what we are saying is this: we are calling for United States. We are calling for any goodwill government and organization get in here in Southern Cameroon and organize a referendum for Southern Cameroonian people to make their choice. This is what we are asking for. Southern Cameroon and the Republic of Cameroon, we are not one for territory, for colonial master, for language, for culture. We are not one. United States, United Nations, African Union is aware of that. So we are calling for any goodwill organization and government to step in there and rescue Southern Cameroonian people in the hands of the Republic terrorist group called military. And for you, Southern Cameroonian citizens, particularly in ground zero, particularly women, close your mouth and your legs and be quiet, because we are fighting for our identity. We are fighting for our identity, and we must have it. For 4 years today, madam, Serbia cannot call a dialogue. What is going on here is to go around killing unarmed women and children. So the Amber Boys, we cannot throw our arms and arrest these terrorists killing our women and children. So we are calling for any goodwill and organization, any goodwill government here, and free and fair referendum to the Cameroonian people. This is the solution. Serbia cannot solve this problem. Thank you very much.
Lawrence, for participating. Let's go now to you, Mr. Capo Daniel. You made precision about these. You talked of. Okay, let's quickly get another caller. Then we'll close our calls to continue. Hello, sir. Hello. Good afternoon. Tell us your name and where you're calling from, please. Can we hear you?
The whole issue of this matter is that the government has really refused to solve the problem, as my brother Elvis has been analyzing. So if they actually come to the root cause of this problem, because they know that Anglophone, the problem of the Anglophone is just that they were marginalized. So they say, let us see how they change the form of the state. The Cameroon government said, no, we will not change it. So even the president himself, President Paul Biya, went to France and said, I've tried to assimilate these people, but they are resisting. So now these people are resisting. Now we have to use gun for them because there is no way for them to be assimilated. So now we have to use gun. People have been calling international communities that we should go to the table. You cannot go to a dialogue and keep people like Ayub Kabek and the other rest. Call them on the table. You people should negotiate. You talk and dialogue. You cannot go ahead with construction while people are dying. I don't know why this Cameroon government, they are very stubborn because they are sucking blood. They like to suck blood. They want to suck blood. I'm pleading that they should come to this table and let them talk and see that they put an end to this mess because people are dying, civilians are dying. I'm talking the man that called in Ivory Coast, they killed 4 months baby in Moyuka. That's the Moyuka that the mother of that baby ran away, and that baby of 4 months was shot by the military. I'm in Boya. You see, every day military arrest young guys and collect money. You collect money, go to Munya. The other day was in class quarter. The other day is that how we have to do? And even by this killing of this girl that she was being slaughtered in Moyuka, they went and arrested many people, even with all men. How can you carry guns with all parents? Why don't you use military intelligence to see how you track these people? You go and gather all people that are innocent. You go to arrest them so that they should pay some sum before they can leave. So they should come back to this table and let us talk and let peace come back into normal. Thank you very much. People are doing a great job there, Madam Rita. Thank you.
Thank you too for calling and participating. Thank you. So I come to you, Mr. Bosco, Jean Bosco Daniel. You are a member of the Cameroonian Patriotic Diaspora. What has been the role, or what role has your camp been playing in the attempts to resolve the crisis? Because many believe that the diaspora should play the master role here.
Absolutely, and thank you very much. I was very anxious to come back to the floor and say something. We at the Cameroonian diaspora, the first thing we believe in is that the dictatorial regime in place in Cameroon cannot resolve this problem. The reason being simple. In any country on this planet, it is the government, it is the mandate of any government to protect the citizens. And we all know, and we agree on this, that the government of Mr. Biya cannot protect Cameroonians. It's not only in the north nozzle or any part. We see the war in the north and the eastern region of Cameroon and so on. The only problem with this regime is to protect his power. Mr. Biya want to die in power. And the only thing Mr. Biya will do today is to do everything he can to die in power. And we Cameroonians, we cannot allow that. We from the diaspora, we cannot allow that. Let me dwell a little bit on what Mr. Capo Daniel said earlier. He said they are respecting the Geneva Convention. And he said he's working with Mr. Choayaba, and that a person can be executed. I don't think in any Geneva Convention it is written anywhere that someone can be executed. And just see what is going on around. How they're beheading people. They are beheading Cameroonians. They are decapitating Cameroonians. And to talk like Mr. Far Elvis, how can a human being born from a woman can behead another person, can decapitate another person, This is terrible coming from a human being. So, talking about the IG under SACO or the international community, just look at all the separatist groups. There are so many of them. And for those who didn't know, I live in Boston. The first chunk of money that went into the field to found those kids came from Boston. I have the story. I have everything. We cannot even, Mr. Capo talk about liberators, and he knows how much the group in Boston hated their group. It's all over the place. And one more time, how can we agree? Even, let's say, the Northwest and Southwest is completely divided. How can we attack? I'm a teacher, by the way. How can we accept students, teachers being killed because they want to do their job? How can we, because we want a separate country, close school? What are the consequences of closing school? As a teacher, it's terrible. We all know that. How can we educate? For 4 years, all the school closed. How do you even send a message? What are all the kids growing up without training, without any knowledge, without any discipline? What do we expect from them? What about the prostitution for men and women who are not doing anything?
Yeah.
How, even if they give you that country today, Mr. Choayaba, Mr. Capo, and all the rest, are you sure you'll be able to rule it with all this disaster we are having there right now?
Mr. Jean Bosco, Mr. Jean Bosco,
let me learn. Please, let me learn.
Jean Bosco and the other panelists.
Mr. Capo,
Let me learn. I didn't talk for a while. Let me.
Yeah, Mr. Bosco, go on. Mr. Capo,
You are asking questions. When you ask questions, you direct the questions to me. You are forcing me to respond. Go ahead.
No, Mr. Capo, we are going to get back to you. Just let Mr. Jean Bosco arrive at his point.
How are you going to deal with more than 350,000 refugees? No accountability so far. How are we going to do that? It's a very difficult situation in which we are. When the Bala and others started this fight, they wanted equality in the country. They wanted something. I remember in many discussions, because I met with some of you guys that I know, the first thing we should do is to unite and see how we can remove this barbaric regime from that place, so that we can have someone we can dialogue with. People are talking about dialogue. Who are you? Or who are we dialoguing with? There's no one we are dialoguing with, because Mr. Bia is a dead man wherever he is, not ready to talk to anyone, do whatever he wants whenever he wants. Let us first remove this evil man. After he's gone, whoever will be there, we can sit down, dialogue, and see where we want to go, than to be beheading people every single day, than to be killing people, decapitating Cameroonians and others every single day. Where are all these people talking from abroad? Where is Choayaba? Where is Mr. Capo? They eat well, they drink well, they take care of themselves. Poor, drug children are on the field being killed by the military, by the Bia regime, by other people. It's a shame. We need to stop that. Mr. Capo is sitting well in the confine of his beautiful home, drinking a good cup of coffee, a good water. There are many in the bush who cannot eat, who cannot drink, who are sick and dying. And we are talking from outside, talking loud. I would love to see Mr. Choayaba, Mr. Capo, the Alex Bianda in Boston, being in the field, carrying the gun. Mr. Capo, show it to me. Mr. Choayaba, show it to me.
Get to Boya, get to Kumba, carry the gun. Don't sit there and be talking and letting poor Cameroonian kill. Please, let us unite. That's what we think. And go and take this evil demon called Polbia out of that place and fix our country. For now, we stop, and I'm waiting for your question. I will answer you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I want to start by saying
Mr.
that
Capo,
we condemn.
Mr. Capo, can you hold on? I will give you opportunity to speak. Before I give you the opportunity to speak, we have this question for you. Just like the human rights activist highlighted here, what is the crime of teachers who have been kidnapped, tortured for simply answering present to a job which feeds their families? This also includes extortion. How do you explain this before commenting to the others?
I think to answer your question, statesmen of that country like Nijon Frundi and many other political personalities have come publicly to indict the Cameroon government of disguising themselves and acting as kidnappers in order to tarnish the reputation of the liberators. And you also have Cameroon government engineering kidnapping for ransom as a means of anti-revolutionary activities on the field. There are proof of that. We have audio messages of Mbandam confessing of having given money to buy ammunition to do kidnapping for ransom and target people who are simply trying to live their life. We have seen this already. And to come back to what you guys are saying, for how long, Jean Bosco, are we going to keep on playing this game? This whole thing started with people saying there are no Anglophone problem, and it has boiled now to a place where we are seeing people being slaughtered on our street, people being beheaded from Kom to Kwakwa. We condemn with the utmost possible means the killing of this lady, an innocent lady on the street in Moyoka. We condemn it. The governing council have condemned it. The ADF have condemned it. We have actually taken the responsibility to send our voice on the field to make sure that justice is done to that person who have publicly confessed of committing this heinous crime. And I want to tell you that we are waking up today as we speak in Mauto village. A pastor, for simply singing about Ambazonia, the military of Cameroon came into that village with their full armored gear, coming to go to war with people flying a simple flag. They left that place, killing the headquarters and 2 other young men for participating in a service to just sing about Ambazonia. The Cameroon government is launching a war of all the people of the southern Cameroon territory. It's not long ago, we see the same thing in Pinyin, with a young boy being killed, the body being humiliated. Our dignity is gone because we are in a country, in a union that do not respect human rights law. A country that refuses to acknowledge our presence. For goodness sake, the people of that territory, the southern Cameroon, that you have called us Northwest and Southwest, we are a sovereign state, a sovereign country. The Cameroon government lost this debate in the United Nations when they voted to grant us independence. They lost this debate, and since then, they keep on denying Anglophone problem to now thinking that we are some part of their country, that we have some obligation to stay with them. How can we stay with a people that thinks that the international law, that the government of Cameroon, the president of Cameroon, Mr. Pobia, have signed Article 4B of the Constitutive Act of the African Union that states that every country have its border as it was given to them on their independence. The Southern Cameroon territory is not part of La Republic sovereign territory. We are forced because of this heinous terrorism that have seen 30,000 of our people died in their houses. Civilians. These people are not fighting gunmen. They are fighting civilians. You go to the villages in Bui, our population are living in 90% of the areas we are control in peace. You go to Kugbe, all around our territory, they are living in peace. Until when the Cameroon troops come with their tactics of terrorism like they did in Mato, like they have done in the case, even in this case we are talking about in Moyoka, what did the Cameroon military do? They came there, arrested over 80 people in that particular quarter, and in the environment, they arrested over 700 people for nothing, for just being in that area. They torture them, they rape them, they treat us like captured people. We are human
beings, for goodness sake. You must acknowledge the fact that the people of the Southern Cameroon are a sovereign people, a sovereign state, who decided in our own choice, in a plebiscite, that is even in question, the legality of that plebiscite is in question, to join you people. Your government did not even accept the plebiscite result, but they kept it aside and imposed a constitution upon us, a federal constitution that they did not even respect. And today we are dying. We are not being killed. We are not just dying, we are being killed. For what? Like the pastor who was arrested for what? Because he says he's an Amazonian, a legitimate case. How can we live with such a people? How can we live in this state? The status quo do not balance. We cannot accept it. A survey that was taken by Cardinal Tumi says that more than 90% of our people wants to leave. The reality is that the people of the Southern Cameroon territory, a sovereign state, have decided to exit this union that have brought only curse and the type of killings that we used to see with the Bamile case that they used to call the Maquisards. We are tired. We are done with this union. We want to go. This is the reality on the field. Everybody in Southern Cameroon wants to go. 95%. Your military is not accepted in our communities. We want them out of there. The people came out in 2017 on September and on 1st of October to embrace the call of independence. Like the people who fought for independence all across the world. We are fighting for our independence today. And the tactics that is being deployed by the Cameroon military is deplorable. Today, as we speak, over 30,000 people have been killed, burned in their houses. Innocent civilians, not Amber boys. And how do you respond to that? You come and look, cherry pick a one single case that we have accepted and we have condemned. And we said, this is not an acceptable conduct. The international community must invoke the right to protect our people because we are a endangered species. If over 95% of the people have said that they want to separate, give them their rights, give them a choice. You cannot go and kill 95% of the people of the Southern Cameroon territory in the name of fighting a war or in the name of Cameroon unity. The Cameroonians who wants a united Cameroon voted to join you and you refuse to recognize them as a sovereign state, to give them their due, to unite with them as a federal people. You have refused, you have annexed our territory, and we have said that because of these deaths that we have seen over this past of these 4 years, we can no longer, the marriage is beyond repair. It is time for the two Cameroons to go their own way like the Senegambia did, like Eritrea and Ethiopia. We don't want to be with Cameroon. We don't identify ourselves as Cameroonian, we identify ourselves as Amazonian, as a right of self-determination, which is legitimate. Let us go. For how long are you going to kill us? Can you kill everybody?
Okay.
This is the truth of the matter. 90% of the people wants to go. Are you going to kill all of them? You can't. So let us go.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Capo Daniel. I stay with you. You're talking about the people of the English-speaking regions of Cameroon wanting liberation, independence, separation. Is all of these still termed as a liberation struggle with what is happening currently? And can you actually tell us if if it is your people that are perpetrating these actions on the ground? Because we have many women who are condemning the actions now. They are the victims. We have children who are going to grow without parents, and the people are against the actions that have been perpetrated by the West, and they say they are separatist fighters. How can you justify that?
Mr. Thomas, who died in Kondengi on the prison bed, did not commit any crime. He did not carry any gun. The pastor who was arrested did not carry any gun. We condemn extrajudicial killing and we condemn the killing of this girl. It is not acceptable, and we are taking disposition to make sure that such a thing do not happen. We are a sovereign people and we are exerting our right of sovereignty on our territory. This is our right under international law. This is our right as acknowledged by the President of Cameroon, who signed Article 4B of the African Charter. We have a sovereign state. Sovereignty is so important. It is the cardinal of war peace. It is a cardinal law. You cannot disappear a sovereign state. Our people cannot accept this illegality. We cannot accept these crimes by the Cameroon government. Where in the world will you want us to do? We are protecting ourselves. The act of war which have been brought upon us by Mr. Pobia, the act of barbarism, beheading, that was brought to us by the Cameroon military that is on the field using terrorism tactics. Because that is what they are doing. Look in Mauto. Just yesterday, look at a young boy, The people speaking a foreign language, an alien language in the village of Benin, where people do not even understand English. They are speaking there with the Bulu Beti army, executing our people, on dignifying our people, treating us like animals. Their governors call us rats and dogs and cockroaches. We cannot accept this. Even their citizen, Mr. Bosco is there, who is from America. He's sitting there calling us like a people. You don't even respect us as a sovereign people. We should begin from there. Mr. Tanganjipo started this thing, calling us, saying that there is no Anglophone problem. You have graduated from no Anglophone problem to come now that there is a problem, and today you are now the people you were calling terrorists in Nigeria. You have now imported them with bribery and corruption to Yaoundé. And I'm telling you, no matter what you do, you must accept the truth that the people of the Southern Cameroon are a sovereign people. Like any sovereign state, its indigenous people have the right of self-determination to choose the status of their country. And our people have decided overwhelmingly to leave the union.
Mr. Capo, Rita, if I may say
just 1 minute so we can give equal time to everybody. Just 1 minute, please. Mr. Jean Bosco.
I want to say one or two things.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Jean Bosco, we are listening. A minute.
Yeah,
so
thank you very much. I believe that we all heard Mr. Capo saying that there are a force that control about 80% of the forces on the ground. Mr. Capo, we take this very seriously, and let us wait for the time where all of you controlling 80% of the Nozo territory, where they are beheading, killing women, killing children, you guys will answer. Trust me.
Okay, thank you,
Mr. Jean Bosco, the crime, the punishment for spying in Cameroon, in La Republic of Cameroon, is death. The punishment for spying in the United States of America is death. In Amazonia, any civilian who collaborates, who provide intelligence to the Cameroon military, will not be spared.
When you were talking, I was
extrajudicial killing.
Gentlemen, we
are very stern when it comes to our sovereignty. We are protecting our people. We are acting.
Can we have some other? Yeah, we are. Mr. Jean Bosco, Mr. Capo Daniel. Can we have some order in the studio? Mr. Capo, just let Mr. Jean Bosco end up, please. Okay.
Of the boy who have been mentioned was cut off in Boyo. Where were you? Over 30,000 people killed.
Can you let me let
people driven into?
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We come now to you, Mr. Fa Elvis. Where do you see this crisis going to? It's been 4 years now and counting. We've seen, or we seem to be turning around the same point. Yes, and lives are being lost on a daily basis. Where do you see the struggle heading to?
That's why you see, I had said earlier on this platform, and I keep on saying that my main worry in the entire scenario is the civilian casualty in the first place. But I will always insist that all lives matter, because all lives are created by human beings, by God. If you look at the scenario on the ground, you see the lives that are wasted. If you go on the part of the military, there are guys between 18, 19, 20, 21, maximum 25 years.
Yeah.
That's what we call the active force in Cameroon. If you go on the side of the Amber Boys, the same ages, 17 or 15, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. This is the workforce we're talking about. If you go to the civilians, sometimes the ages will vary, because if you are caught in a crossfire, you could be 80, you could be 50, or you could be burnt in a house, or you could be 15, and other like. And another worry here, that is where my worry is. My worry is the human lives that has been wasted. That's just my worry, which I keep saying that people who listen to my analysis must take time to listen in between the line. Because I know that after this analysis, you will hear some giving names, Amber journalists, Amber that, which I am not. And I keep doing just my job, because I get the risk getting to the ground where it is very hostile. All right. If we get to the whole issue, if we talk about how is the way, how do we go forward? Because all of this ranting does not pay. I said at the beginning of my intervention that I am done with speeches. If I hear a government officer giving speeches, it passes away. If I hear probably we get speeches from Amber, it passes away, because my worry is what do we do to bring an end to this carnage? Shall we continue dying while we make speeches? While we play blame game? Amber has done this one has done that. Bad fate is around the corner. And as I said, today, I'm talking about an institution that is a state, which is well recognized as member of the United Nations, member of the African Union, member of the Francophonie, member of the Commonwealth, member of the CEMAC zone, and all the like. So the question now is, what stops the state from taking a pause? People have been dying, and the situation is deteriorating. I said where the war is. Let me give you an analysis of the war. Where we are now, the war is going through what they call metamorphosis. And in the metamorphosis, the government has injected politics into it. That's why when you ask a governor, he will tell you 2 days to control. If you ask a GO in Moyoka, how is the station? No, 2 days to control. If you ask the GO in Wabane, he will tell you 2 days to control. But ask him, if everything is in control, how many people do you receive in your office as a GO? They will tell you since 4 years, nobody has come in to sign a document in these hard affected areas. If you go to the GO of Akwaya, they will tell you nobody has come.
They've all deserted.
Yeah, they've all deserted. So when you go to places like Batibo, ask yourself, why is the GO in Jikwa, Ngi, no longer living in his house, but living in a military barrack? You get the point. These are indicators to tell you that tout n'est pas sous contrôle, comme des gens nous disent. It is a call for concern. So my point here is, we will leave lies-telling apart if we want to save souls. If we come and play hanky-panky game on politics, politics has destroyed this particular solution to the Anglophone crisis. The Anglophones themselves had a joining problem in that they were marginalized, yes. Of course, they were asking for their rights, which the government would have simply, at a point in time, Englishman says, a stitch in time saves 9. Where we are now is not where we ever dreamt to have been. And as you know with war, it is easy to begin, but very difficult to end. So if you look at it now, we are now under metamorphosis. If you look at it from the peace plant to catapult.
I want to follow what Mr. Elvis is saying, because he's saying something extremely important, and that is where I wanted to land it when Mr. Capo didn't want me to land.
All right, sir.
All right.
The real problem of Cameroon today, Mr. Elvis,
yes, sir.
Not about just the Amazonian forces on the ground, but it's particularly about the government in place.
Okay.
And I will say it live on your media. Cameroonian, as one, must rise up to take off this government in place. Without this evil government out of that place, there will be so many dead, there will be so many killing, and Cameroon will be worse than Rwanda, Burundi, and so on.
Thank you.
Until we sit down, understand this, and get up from wherever we are, fight this barbaric regime, we are not going anywhere. We can call names, as Mr. Capo is calling you guys, the United Nations, and so on. We are lying to ourselves. Because when we are talking about the United Nations, so far, I'm still waiting for that United Nations that Mr. Capo is calling to send the United Nations troop to protect Cameroonians, or to protect his territory, like he's calling. I'm still waiting for Mr. Capo, Cho Ayaba, and all the rest to carry the gun and be in the southwest and northwest, that to sitting
we carry the guns, we carry the guns. If you don't know, Mr. Bosco, if you don't know, in the 90s, I fought with my rubber gun.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. I come now to you, Mr. Nkwen. You gave your time to Mr. Jean Bosco. Thank you, gentlemen. I come now to our Human Rights Officer, Mr. Nkwen. After the killing of the lady in Moyuka, there have been some massive indiscriminate arrests in that area, and this includes innocent civilians living their lives, and some might end up dying in prison, just like journalist Samuel Wazizi, or dying in chains on sick beds, like Mr. Tangem, without even seeing a lawyer or being given the opportunity to be tried in court. This is part of human rights violation still.
Yes, we accept that this is a human rights violation, and it happens almost every day. We have issues of arbitrary arrests, illegal detentions being committed by the military. In Boya, for example, we have detention centers which the lawyers are not even allowed to access. Families of detainees are not even allowed to access. If you go, there is a camp somewhere in Tole. If you go to Tole, there's a detention facility where people are arrested and taken to this area, and they stay there for so many months without seeing their family. Nobody knows their whereabouts. And also around the monument in Boya, there is another detention facility there. These ones are different from the gendarmerie and the police, where we know that if somebody is arrested, the person is supposed to be taken to this place where a lawyer can come and visit, a family can come. But these are areas where they are out of bounds to the population. You only hear that your person has been arrested and then taken to this area. So when we hear that people are being arrested in Moyuka and other places, our fear is that they might be taken to these areas, and the result is that they may never be taken to court. They may never meet a lawyer. They may end up as Swazizi, as you rightly said. Yeah. Because the military does not give access to people to access this area. And even when you go to the authorities to complain that somebody has been arrested and detained, they will tell you to go and look for him somewhere. When you go, they will direct you to another place, and you will look for him until you get tired of it. Yeah. In our office, we receive numerous cases of disappearances almost every day. We have, like in a week, if we don't have up to 5 cases of disappearances, it means people did not really have something to talk about that week. Every day we have people coming to complain that our person has disappeared. This person was arrested on this date by the military, and we have looked for him in this place, we have looked for him here, and we have not seen.
And what do you do about?
We have a legal unit, because our human rights center is not just the human rights. We have a litigation unit. This unit has been following up cases of Anglophone detainees from the start of the crisis. They even set up a task force to defend Anglophone civilians in court. They have been defending right to Yaoundé. So when we hear of disappearances, we send our lawyers to go and investigate and find out where they are keeping these people. So it is through this investigation that we were able to identify these detention areas. We identified the one in Tole, and we also identified the one at the monument around just below the governor's office. There's in
the southwest region.
Yes, in the southwest region, there is a detention facility somewhere located there, which is not open to the public. And I even think that is where Wazizi was detained.
Okay.
Yes. So when we hear of issues of mass arrest like what happened in Moyoka yesterday, our fear is that these people will surely be taken to these places, and if they are there, anything can happen. You don't know whether they will ever meet a lawyer. You don't know whether they will even be taken to court. They will just remain there, stay there, and that is it. That is how it happens every day. I want to come back to Capo Daniel. He said something that he first of all defined the word black leg, and said when they arrest a black leg, they are able to maybe kill or torture the person. And I want to call to his attention, even in international law, it says that when you capture somebody, you are supposed to keep the person as a prisoner of war, so that at the end of the hostilities, both parties can exchange their war prisoners. But when you capture a civilian and you cut off his finger, you cut off his head, those are clearly war crimes being committed. And I am sure he is aware that perpetrators will have to account for what they are doing. He is supposed to, as a spokesman of the ADF, as he identified himself, I am sure he is aware of all these things. And he is vicariously liable for the actions of his soldiers on the ground. If those who are actually pulling the trigger cannot be identified, he himself as the leader will be on the day of, because we know this thing will end, and those who are committing war crimes will have to be brought to justice. And I'm sure he is aware of all of this. that if he does not discipline his soldiers on the ground, he will be liable for their actions. And so when you capture somebody because the person has committed a crime, you are supposed to keep the person as a prisoner of war. And in this case, these people are not even combatants. We have soldiers and we have civilians. A civilian does not constitute a target. And attacking civilians does not give you any military advantage. So when you capture somebody because you feel that he is informing the government and you think that you can kill the person, what you are doing is wrong. And again, there are so many factions as far as the Anglophone crisis is concerned. Once you disagree with the separatists, you are either termed a blackleg, an enabler, a facilitator, and this terminology plays because the fighters on the ground do not even understand some of these things, and once they say this man has said this and we are not happy about it, they go after the person. So we are calling on the leaders to educate their fighters that they are committing war crimes and crimes against humanity, and the day will come when they will have to account for all of those things. It doesn't matter how long it takes. We have people who committed war crimes in Darfur, in South Sudan, 30 years ago, and today they are facing trial
for it.
So we are telling the fighters that as they are committing their war crimes, they should be aware that one day they will have to answer for all of those things. So we have to tell Capo Daniel that a person who disagrees with you is not a target. People have their opinions.
Is the gentleman be watching the show? Because we do not carry out extrajudicial killings. We do not kill people because they are being suspected. We have a good structure and we are ready for the responsibility for what we do. Just like Robert Mugabe was responsible for the liberation of his homeland, and many other people who have fought for the liberation of their homeland.
There are so many crimes the fighters are committing on the ground. They recruit child soldiers and they kidnapped.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kwai. Thank you very much. I'm not cutting you. We just have to work on time. And for Facebook viewers and those leaving commentaries, Caprice, you said we made a mistake to bring an ADF to our panel. Afrique Media gives a voice to people, and we can't talk about people without the people being there. So we are glad to have Mr. Capo Daniel on set today to explain himself. So let's get a caller online, Mr. Sanjo. I think he's calling from Cameroon. Mr. Sanjo, you're live on the program. Hello? You're live on the program.
Hello? Hello?
Hello, you're live on the program, sir. Go ahead.
Hello?
Mr. Sandro, you're live on the program. I can hear you.
Yes, I am calling from Denmark. I have a question for Mr. Capo Daniel. Mr. Capo Daniel said earlier that they keep prisoners of war and they respect the Geneva Convention. We have an audio online where Mr. Capo admits that they are the one who killed the ladies in Bamenda. I would like Mr. Capo Daniel's take on that issue. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for calling. Let's take another caller. We will come back to Mr. Capo to answer. Another caller online. Hello. Tell us your name and where you're calling from, please.
Mr. Elvis. Mr. Elvis, the journalist. Hello?
Hello? Yeah, you're live on the program. Go ahead.
I want to ask Mr. Elvis. He has been somebody who has been moving along the panel and defending the land. What he always says, he send the truth to the people. Mr. Elvis, how can this country do to come out from this problem? What can people do that this thing should come to an end, my brother? Because this is too much. You have been somebody who is instructing the Cameroon, the African population, what to do. You have been doing it for quite a long time. Are people listening to you? Are these people calling you to tell you that, brother, can you come and tell us what to do to end this problem? This is the point I want to ask to Mr. Evie. If you can answer me this question, I'll be very happy.
All right, thank you for calling Mr. Elvis. Can you answer in 1 minute?
Yes, the only way to solve this problem, because the state has not shown good faith to solve the problem for 4 years running, a third party is required. Meaning that the third party coming in, I don't want to give any name of any third party because the international community knows how they function. I don't want to specify whether it should be United Nations, it should be African Union. No. When the third party comes in, that party should be an organization where Cameroon is a member to. When the party comes in, there are steps put in place to regulate, to force a country to maintain peace at all costs. The first thing is calling on the attention of the Cameroon government to solve the problem, giving a deadline. When the deadline expires and the government does not make anything, the next thing is economic embargo. Once they start curtailing the links of financial attachment between Cameroon and its foreign partners, once they start weakening, this one will force Cameroon government to succumb. When the government knows that the financing you will borrow from IMF in the name of fighting COVID and other is not coming, the money you will borrow from World Bank is not coming, Cameroon government will start submitting. Once their market, maybe to sell banana, cocoa, whatever abroad, the partners are no longer siding with them because they are members of that organization. Cameroon government will start to submit financially. When you give this, a period of time is given. If Cameroon government still does not solve that problem, the next thing is marching in a standing army for peacekeeping reason, as it was done by the ECOWAS forces in the Gambia to send out Yaya Jammeh. This is the last stage. What we do with marching a standing army, where you have used step 1, step 2, and step 3, and the government is not responding. Once this happens, it means that you now prepare the ground because the government has failed to align to the forceful implementation of peace and negotiation. The next thing now is you bring in now a backed up tribunal. That backed up tribunal, ICC, Cameroon is not a full member of the ICC. They have not ratified all. But when UN comes in or any other body deemed necessary and fit, now they can drag in any other competent court. That comes in, stationed in Buea or Bamenda, they start dragging, whether it's separatist fighters or it is the government officials who were in the regime within that period. Stock is being taken. There are colonels, there are governors, there are captains who will all, on both sides, will be brought in, just like you found in the Rwandan genocide. If you run to where, that court will give an order for Interpol to search you wherever you are. They bundle you and bring. At that time, it is not Cameroon government putting you to trial. It is the body. So the trial will be fair. So all process of extradition, all process of extradition will be fully respected. And whether a governor escapes to where, will be brought back where the tribunal is sitting. And then now they start using video footages and, with everything, they play a crime. And then if you're not there, the date is there. Who was the colonel in Moyoka when this killing took place? Who was the Amber commander in this area when this thing took place? That's how they will get to start trying people in the case, which is what we call force at the last stage to bring in place. After that now, you could put in place temporary government to stabilize the government, and then they go in for the free democratic principles. That's a summary I can say because of time factor. It's a whole school of thought, but I'm sure that's a summary. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, it's a whole school of thought, and due to time constraint, let's just respect and take a caller online calling from Abidjan. Hello.
My name is hello. My name is Peter John, and I'm calling from Abidjan.
Okay. Mr. Peter, go ahead. We can hear you.
Can you
You're
hear
live
me?
on the program. Yeah, sure.
Can you hear me now?
Sure, we can.
Yeah. What I want to contribute to this, what is happening is that the situation is on the ground right now. In difficult policy situation can be solved. The killing is being done by both sides. So what I would suggest is that the international community, whatever they want to do, they should try and arm the English people of the Azerbaijan, especially those who are vulnerable, the women in the villages. If you watch those killings, if those women, those men, they are armed with weapons, I don't think that those rebels or those fighters will go close to them. Because we are humans. The soldiers, they are humans. The fighters, they are humans. They are afraid to die. They don't want to see their blood. So if those women, those men, those English-speaking Cameroonians are armed with weapons, I don't think the soldiers will kill them. Neither the Cameroonian government will use their fighters to kill them and rape the women. So that is what I wanted to. That is what they should do. They should arm the certain Cameroonians, especially the villagers, the vulnerable them, who don't have weapons. Then they should arm their sophisticated weapons and train them. I think that will solve the problem 90%. I think then the Cameroonian government will call itself to attention. Without that, I don't see anything that will solve. They can just turn it around from one side to the other, and the killing will continue. But the next 2 years, the war is still there. All you see that you get about 100, 200,000 people be killed. Oh, look at this beautiful girl. So that is my own comment. That is what I want to happen. Thank you very much.
Peter, for participating on the program. I now come to you, Mr. Capo Daniel. The Ambazonia struggle is gradually losing sympathy from the international community due to gross human rights violation. Who else do you think will help to stop, or who else do you think will step in to resolve the crisis if your forces continue to act as such?
It's unfortunate that we are in the situation where we find ourselves in, and I think that the Cameroon government, on the contrary from what you are saying, is the one that is losing international sympathy. The United States of America have sanctioned them, removing them from AGOA. The IMF, they are cutting them off from financial loans. Many firms that they have hired in the United States have dropped them off. The German government have cut off their military aid. They are under increasing international pressure, and it is only going to get worse. The fact of the matter is a clear picture of what is happening yesterday, not something long ago in Mato, Mato, where a pastor, simply for hanging his flag, the Cameroon military came in there to fight a war against those people hanging their flags. And they end up killing the quarterhead and 2 other innocent civilians. This is the war Mr. Pobia declared on our innocent people. In a circumstances like that, and you're a young boy living in that group, in that village, what do you do? Every time the Cameroon military comes there, they kill innocent people like that. They have the right to invoke the right of self-defense. That is exactly what we have invoked for our people. And we who are in the diaspora, who have fought in that country and are forced to live in abroad in exile, just like the South Africans who ran away from South Africa or the Zimbabweans who ran away from Zimbabwe, we have an obligation to help our people to build their defenses against a terrorism military that have invaded a sovereign state. I know many of you who are there, you are in that country that does not allow people to speak their mind, and you are forbidden to express yourself. So you cannot actually talk about the real problem, which is a contest of sovereignty. My brother, if he expresses his mind there, probably he'll end up in Kondengi like many other people, like Wazizi and many other people. You know very well what I'm talking about. This is not a war about armed men. Our boys are poorly armed. They have picked up the small arms, and we in the diaspora, we are giving them money to buy more arms to defend themselves against the military occupation, which is what it is. It's a military occupation. 90% of our territory is under our control. Our people are living there in peace and in tranquility, and people only die when the Cameroon military comes there. Our forces do not, I repeat again, do not carry out extrajudicial killing. The international law, the Geneva Convention, the Liber Code, which is an instrument of the Geneva Convention, do prescribe death for people who aspire. In these circumstances that we are not a government, we are being considered as combatant. Under these circumstances, we do not have the luxury to set up courts or to keep people for a long time. If somebody is proven to have exchanged intelligence with the Cameroon military that have led to the death of an innocent civilian, the burning of a village or killing of a people, sometimes it is not even our forces that carried out this execution. We do have mob justice of people rising up to catch these people who are working in collaboration with the Cameroon military, because 90% of our people do not want to be in this relationship anymore. If you go around our territory, every Monday, the people overwhelmingly stay at their home on Ghost Town Day to show the world that we don't want this relationship anymore. With the overwhelming military power of the Cameroon military, the Dio himself cannot have people coming into his village, into his office, because they have rejected him. In the last presidential election, our people rejected to participate. We have not given the Cameroon government the right and the consent to govern us anymore. We have risen up on 2017
en masse to demand for separation. This is our right under international law. If Britain can exit in the European Union, why can the Southern Cameroon not exit? This is the debate that I know you people cannot have because you are in a country where they police the mind of people and they do not accept the legality of law. It is a black site where behind the curtain, people are being slaughtered by the military. Over 30,000 and counting have been slaughtered. Over more than 300 villages have been burned down in impunity. We cannot accept the impunity. We are forced to defend ourselves and we target only legitimate target. And we are proud. We will boldly stand and be crucified for the responsibility for asserting our right of sovereignty over our territory, which is duly ours. Remember, Southern Cameroon is a sovereign state, and a sovereign state cannot be disappeared.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Capo Daniel. Let's quickly now have Mr. Jean Bosco Tanye. You have the mic. Let's hear you. Where do you see this crisis moving to? The game, the game plan or the blame game continues. What is the way forward for those living in the English-speaking regions of Cameroon? What is the way forward to an end of this crisis?
Thank you, Rita. And I will be very clear about this. There's no doubt in our mind at the Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora that what we believe will be really the end game of this barbaric killing war in the northwest and southwest Cameroon is for Cameroonians to rise as one to get this dictatorial regime out from power. If we can do that, that will be the beginning of a solid dialogue. This will be the beginning of putting all the children, all the Cameroonians, whether from the diaspora or from within the country, together to talk about their problems and look for solutions. That is when, we'll be capable to call upon people of goodwill, the international community, to help us resolve the problems that we have in our country for the past 50 plus years, because we are not really independent. And just not being independent is a serious problem for any country who want to liberate yourself. And when you listen to some of our brothers talking there, you can see, for example, my good friend there talking about the DOs. He's talking about the DOs put in place by the barbaric regime that we have in place in Cameroon, that is not doing anything to protect his own citizen against barbarism, who perpetrate. Because when we are talking about the killings, not yesterday I was watching a video where the bee killed a young man, was pulling him to the bush and put him down and shoot again when he's already dead. What kind of human being, as my friend Elvis was saying earlier, coming from a woman's womb can do such a thing? Meaning what? That the Biya regime, Biya himself on top, need to be prosecuted, needs to be judged. I just don't want to go far. Biya is not a human being. So do the same people who are committing all the atrocity at the other end. How can you take a knife, machetes, cut a woman's head, cut a woman's stomach, chop a human being? Are you really a human? And my friend is sitting there telling me that the Geneva Convention is giving them the right to stop people and execute them.
Which people? Stop being ridiculous, Bosco.
Can you let me land? If you can let me land.
What people have said,
you said it
at the time of war,
that person
spies who have served people, who have led to the death of people, have the right to, the people have the right to defend themselves against such spies. Even the Cameroon Constitution do acknowledge that the punishment for spies is death. In America, the punishment for spies is death. We are not killing innocent people. We can't kill innocent people. We are the good guys. We protect our civilians. We have built hospitals for our civilians. We are there to liberate them. from the Cameroon military.
Yes, Mr. Capo, I'm coming to you now. Mr. Capo, I'm coming to you officially. Mr. Capo, I'm coming to you officially with this last question. Time is against us. With this last question, Mr. Capo Daniel.
He's not letting me talk.
Mr. Capo, time is against us. There is already the situation at hand. How now are you managing the situation? What is the way forward with this crisis and with all these that is happening? How are you managing the situation, and when is it going to come to an end? What is the way out? What is the solution, Mr. Capo?
Mr. Capo,
we have the governing council. Can I speak, Bosco? Be a gentleman. Be a gentleman, for goodness sake. You are as old as my father. Give me a chance to speak. I'm a gentleman. Don't speak over me. I gave you chance. I stayed quiet. A direct question has been asked to me. Give me the chance to talk. I know the Cameroon government will not allow me to speak there. They don't allow people to speak there. At least I'm out of the country. Give me a chance to speak for my people. I'll answer your question. With the killing of this, with the killings that we have witnessed, both in the killing in Pinyin and the killing that we have seen in Moyoka, which is unacceptable. Dr. Chua Yaba, the leader of the governing council, have instructed the Amazonian Defense Forces to deploy some elements there to arrest the person who carried out that killing. We have identified the person. We have identified the splinter group that have engineered this killing, and this is a group that is receiving finances from the Pan-Cameroonian network. So we are going to stop this killing. We have redoubled our effort to educate our soldiers to continue to follow the code of conduct, which is in line with Geneva Convention. Nobody should ever be killed the way this lady was killed. And this lady was an innocent person, just like the 30,000 people that have been slaughtered by the Cameroon military. It is unacceptable, and we condemn this killing, and we do not carry out extrajudicial killing. We do not kill or execute innocent people. We go after the Cameroon military, and we are bleeding them. If Mr. Biya do not come to his senses and stop this war, we are going to carry this war into Yaoundé. We are going to carry this war into his country to let the people in Cameroon come to their senses that they are dealing with a sovereign state and a sovereign people. I know you will not address this because you end up in jail in that country. But we are a sovereign people, and we are asserting the right of our sovereignty according to international law. We are on the side of the law. They are on the illegality side. Mr. Pobia will be held responsible for the 30,000 people he has slaughtered in our country, for the villages he has burned. All those generals in Cameroon, the military that killed the pastor yesterday in Pinyin, they should know and they should be on the record. Everybody will account for what they do. And we are very prepared because we are fighting a good fight, and we are working in the legality of international law. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Capo. Sure, everybody is going to account for his actions at the end of all of this. Mr. Fa Elvis, just 2 minutes. Okay, come on, just wait. All right. Mr. Nkwine, let's just get the human rights officer's opinion. Mr. Nkwine, what's your last advice with respect to human rights? Just 1 minute.
As we started in the opening of the program, my point was that we should protect civilians. We have come up as the Center for Human Rights and Democracy in Africa with a pamphlet on the conduct of combatants in the field.
Yeah.
This document educates both soldiers and separatist forces on what to do and what not to do in carrying out their attacks. So we are calling on the parties involved to try to use this document to educate their soldiers so that they should limit the atrocities they are committing against the civilian population. And again, this whole thing, it is the government which owes a duty to protect. They are the duty bearers and they know what to do.
Okay.
So we are calling on the government to find a solution to the crisis and put an end to all these atrocities.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Akem Kelvin Nkwine, for respecting the time, and thank you for your opinion. Snappily, Mr. Fa Elvis, as a political analyst, you have been frequently visiting the 2 English-speaking regions. How do you rate the living in peace, and who controls what? Are we close to the end of this crisis?
Oh, not at all, not at all. We still have a long way to go.
1 minute, 30 seconds.
And if care is not taken, the crisis might take the next 20 years because war is easier to begin but difficult to end. Now, like as I gave an ad hoc here, what could force the government for a third party to come in, which will cause the government a lot of problems. I think that there's still time. The government can make amendments. If the government shows good faith, gets into genuine dialogue and negotiation, putting in place the principles of conflict resolution, I think there can be some pardon somewhere along the line based on the atrocities that have been committed on both sides. Meanwhile, I'll be ending up by saying that it will be good for both the separatist fighters and the government troops to respect the Geneva Convention. I'll be very serious about that, because if we get some excuses and go offhand, because when it comes to legalities and law, it's the law that's talking. It's not how you interpret it. What does the law say? If you catch somebody and you cannot remand him in custody and you execute, when the Geneva Convention does not permit that, it's only a war crime, and you'll be indicted for that. We saw what happened in the Rwandan genocide. Mayors who escaped, even the mayor of Kigali and the governor who escaped, they were bundled from out and brought back. The recent one was another guy who was the owner of Rado Milk Colin, who were disguised. That's over how many years? Changed his face and everything, but he was bundled. So you can imagine how, when the time comes, even those who thought they have power will become powerless because they'll be bundled like children. So time is still on our side, and I think that what Yaoundé should do, they should keep policies aside, get into the right things. There's nothing like you are negotiating and not negotiating. If you want to negotiate the separatist fighters. If you don't want to negotiate, then prepare for the consequences, which will overflow both on the side of the separatist fighters and on the side of the government. In that case, nobody will be above the international law when the judgment comes. Civilian population is my target. My plea, I will repeat as I'm ending, is that let the government not allow people to die any longer. Let the Ambazonians too not allow people to die, like probably judging people in the cause of misconception. Maybe you are accused as a black leg, you are not black leg, later you have been killed. How do we rectify it? It's difficult for us to bring you back to life. So, in all, I call on all both parties, please, respect in the first place the civilians caught in between the crossfire. The other things will come later. But the government has the sole responsibility and the guarantor to protect civilians. If you say you are in charge of the civilians, to protect them. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Fa Elvis. You are a political analyst and a journalist. We had also Mr. Akem Kelvin Gwine, a human rights officer at the Center for Human Rights the CHRDA of Barrister Agbon Congo. Thank you very much for honoring the invitation, Mr. Nkwine. We equally had on our panel today Professor Jean Bosco Daniel, CPD Secretary in charge of the Americas, the Cameroon Patriotic Diaspora Secretary in charge of the Americas. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation on the panel today. And we equally had Capo Daniel, the Northwest Deputy Defense Chief of Ambazonia Defense Forces. Thank you, sir, for accepting the invitation and being a part of today's panel. With this, we call the curtains of today's program on Afrique Media. The Pan-African debate has come to an end. I say a big thank you to the technical department, the call center, and everyone who participated in the smooth production of today's edition of the Pan-African debate. We pray for a strong and revived Cameroon as the whole Afrique Media team sends its warm condolences to the families of the deceased and equally all those suffering in this war in the English-speaking regions of Cameroon. A rebroadcast of today's edition is on Monday, 3 o'clock local time, 14 hours GMT. Have a blessed weekend in the company of our transmissions. Bye-bye.